And any agent telling you that job to easy hai, change them today. There's nothing easy. Not here to make people happy. Just
yes,
FYI.
Yes,
Yeah.
as raw.
Because that's what will help the student at the
Is UK the right destination? Will they find a job here? Today with Dhruv, that's the theme that we are going to uncover.
when you worked hard, spent a lot of money, and done everything that you've been told to do, but yet you don't get it, that frustration builds up. And that's when the idea for Student Circus came up. Can you build something for international students that takes care of visa issues when it comes to jobs? And that's how Student Circus came out.
Okay.
Let me just clear out the kind of confusion out here, right? I'm paying you money, so I get a job in return. Correction, I'm paying you money, I get a degree in return, not a job.
But a lot of students who are coming are not fully prepared.
80 to 90% are not prepared.
And hence that's kind of creating a lot of noise.
The term placement has a different meaning.
Right.
Do you know that?
If you are looking to study abroad, then watch this full video and subscribe to our channel to stay updated.
So hello guys, good morning. This is Piyush, your study abroad coach. And today we are going to be meeting Dhruv, who's the co-founder of Student Circus. And Student Circus, guys, is a very interesting organization. It partners with a lot of UK universities and is expanding to other countries and is helping international students understand what job opportunities are there for them in UK and in more than 20 countries outside of UK. And they have thousands of job postings, internships, and they are a big force helping international students figure out their career and their future in these international destinations. So guys, today we are super excited to meet Dhruv. So looking forward to meeting you, Dhruv, very, very shortly. Sure.
Oh, well, good to see you.
So you guys are in the city of
City University
building.
yeah.
A lot of companies around here.
Yes, so numerically they kind of say there are 40, 50 companies, but
Right. Not everybody sits
not
out.
everyone sits, not everyone comes in. But yeah, at least like I would say about 10 to 20 companies are quite frequent, if not every day. Because again, with hybrid, UK is all hybrid.
Right.
So we have this community space here.
Welcome everyone. Today I'm Piyush, your study abroad coach, and I've been traveling all over UK, and right now we are in London to meet fellow students and industry veterans like Dhruv, who are helping us international students to find a way towards making our future. So welcome guys, and welcome Dhruv.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us here.
A pleasure.
A quick introduction about Dhruv. Dhruv started a company called Student Circus. Student Circus is a great platform, and they work with 100 odd universities, about 100 odd universities as an official partner in and kind of training, supporting their international students.
Correct.
In becoming job ready,
Yes.
in getting access to opportunities, not just full-time jobs but also internships.
Yes.
And how do they skill themselves up and be prepared for the job market? So that's exactly the biggest problem today in UK, where students are struggling and wanting to understand, is UK the right destination for them, and will they find a job here or not? So guys, today with Dhruv, that's the theme that we are going to uncover. But first, Dhruv, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, how you got to UK, and how did the idea of Student Circus come about?
Okay, firstly, welcome to our offices. We're delighted to have you an admit card here. Support students who ever watch this video. So that's great. But basically, a little bit about myself. So I come originally from Bombay, born and brought up in Bombay. Studied my undergrad in Bombay, and then I came for my master's in 2014 to the University of Bristol to do my master's in management.
Right.
And
So you came to UK in 2014 when there was no PSW.
absolutely
Right.
correct. So
And,
the first PSW ended in I think 2012, if I'm not sure. And when I came in, there was only 4 months after the end of your course and between the end of your visa to find a job, switch your visa, or find another visa to live and work in the UK. So it was a different world, a different time. I think a brilliant time, personally speaking, because all my friends who were here in class, we had majority Chinese students. A lot of them are my friends. We had a large number of Indian students who are my very close friends currently as well. Students from Turkey, etc. as well. But the mindset was, we're coming for academics. We already knew there was no post-study work visa. That was a given. It was not missold to us or anything like that. But we already knew there's no post-study work visa. So getting a job in the UK is going to be difficult. And I think having conditioned your mind with that, you are coming for your academics.
Right.
You know, you're going to classes, you're attending classes, you're getting a good grade, you're making the most of the professional services, and your priority is, okay, if I've paid X amount of money to my university, I am getting a degree in return. I'm not getting a job in return,
yes.
which I think has changed a lot. So, but having said that, a lot of us were looking for jobs, including myself. I was lucky.
What's your family background back
So I come from a family business background. My granddad had his own family business. My dad started his own family business. I did have a choice to join the family business, but I didn't want to. That was very clear and early on. And so it was just like, you know, you have to figure your way
So
out.
entrepreneurship is like in your genes, in your
Yes,
blood.
absolutely, absolutely. And I make no bones about it. I am blessed to come from that background because that gives you a different way of thinking.
Yes.
I 100% agree. When I talk to friends who don't come up from a family business background, and when you discuss things, it's a different mindset. I'm not saying what is right and what is wrong, but that just gives you a different mindset, and maybe I would say an advantage as well of coming from a family background of business. So yeah, got a job, was applying for jobs, went through a lot of jobs with certain companies, and the problem was that even if they liked you, when it came to visas, they didn't want to sponsor you, etc. And even at that time, right now, you have more than 100,000 companies who have a valid visa sponsorship license. At that time, there were 20,000 companies. 10, 15, 20,000. There were hardly any companies because the new rules came in 2012. I finished in 2015. So people are just trying to kind of figure out what's happening. And, immigration was not that big.
Right.
The total number of international students that came in across the UK universities were only 300,000.
Right.
This year, we expect 700,000.
Right.
So the numbers are very small, and especially most students were from China. Numbers from India were like 20,000.
Right.
Now they're like 200,000. It was a different world, if I'll be honest.
Less competition, but also lesser opportunities.
Much lesser, because no one knew about visas, no one knew anything about that. The world hadn't grown that much, if you would say. Also, lesser competition, but high quality competition.
Right.
Everyone's coming for the academia. Everyone's focused on that. No one's kind of doing. If I stick my neck out and say, when it comes to part-time jobs, in my class, most students didn't do a part-time job. I would say 90% did not do a part-time job. Everyone was only focused on, let's go to the library, let's study, let's get a good grade, let's do group projects, let's really do extremely well when it comes to academics and other things like, your society.
This is a very interesting point that you're mentioning, that, there are now many more students. But a lot of students who are coming are not fully prepared for the academics here.
Not at all.
And
I would say 80% are not prepared. 80 to 90% are not prepared.
And hence that's kind of creating a lot of noise around, and even the ones who are actually well qualified, well prepared, have some experience back in India as well, get lost in that whole, commotion, which I've been kind of uncovering while I'm talking to a lot of the students that I speak to.
Let me just clear out the kind of confusion out here, right? I'm suggesting we're mainly talking of Indian students. Look, I'm an Indian student, so I'll tell you that openly. The biggest problem, we love to be spoon-fed. From the time we are born in India, everyone's spoon-feeding us.
Yeah.
Our parents, house helps. When we go to university, when we go to school, we have tuitions from the first, second, third grade now. We are being spoon-fed. We don't tell our kids that you go to school, you study, and you go and give exam. You tell our kids when you're in the first, fifth standard, you go to school, you come back, someone's going to spoon-feed you with tuitions, and then you give exams. So the mindset has been conditioned from the time we are born to be spoon-fed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when I'm choosing to study abroad as well, I'm being spoon-fed by my agents, right? SOPs being written, things are being told. I didn't even file for my visa. My agent did that. And I'm not saying that's correct or wrong. Forget that. But if you're not giving me a chance to do it myself, how am I going to even make a mistake and learn from that mistake, right? I'm not even putting in the hard work. And that's really hitting most international students here. Because they feel that out here when they come in, they're going to be spoon-fed.
Right.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Irrespective of which university you go to. Point number one. Point number two, I think the entitlement. I'm paying you money, so I get a job in return. Correction, I'm paying you money, I get a degree in return, not a job. If you are being missold on the fact that, you're paying money, you'll get a job, change your agent, change your university.
Guys, I think
doesn't work that way.
I will again repeat that fact. If somebody is giving you a promise that guaranteed hai, even degree bhi guaranteed nahi hai.
No.
Even because if you don't perform academically in this university, even degree is not guaranteed.
Absolutely.
So nobody can, once you are taken that flight,
Absolutely.
you need to put in the hard work.
And any agent telling you that job to easy hai, change them today. Change them today. It's incorrect. It's false.
It's false.
There's nothing easy. It's all tough, and it's not just tough for international, it's tough for locals as well.
Right.
Locals also struggling. I don't know if you've read the BBC report which came out last week. There's a student who's a British student who applied for 649 jobs to get the right job. So it's not easy for even locals. The competition's higher.
Yeah.
So basically, first, nothing's easy. If you think something's easy, don't come here. Don't spend your daddy's money or mommy's money. Don't do that. Put it in FD, and mutual fund, make your money chill out in life. But it's going to put in it's all about hard work, right? It's about your academics, learning and building and then growing from there. That's point number one. Also, the other thing I feel is a lot of students who are coming in here experienced, having 1 year or 2 years of work experience, or even 3-4 years of work experience back home. Two things. 1 or 2 years of work, it's good. I'm not saying it's bad, but it might not translate in the same number of experience out here in the UK. Point number one. Point number two, work experience in India is very different to work experience in the UK. Point number three, the way job search works in India is very different to the UK. So just because you think you've been successful there doesn't mean you'll be successful here. And also it's the mindset, right? Because in India we have campus placements.
Right.
Out here, you do not have campus placements. The term placement has a different meaning.
Right.
Do you know that? The term placement having a different meaning in the UK and India. So in India, what is a campus placement? When companies come to campus, interview students on campus towards the end of the degree and give them a full-time graduate role to start before they finish their graduation. You'll have the offer, you go and finish your exam, then you get a job and you start, right? In the UK, the term placement actually means a full-time, long-term internship that you need to do as a part of your course. Only if you have a placement as a part of your course. When companies come on campus in the UK, they do not recruit you on campus. So you don't have to print out your CVs and go. They only come for information guidance purposes.
So of course, I think the ecosystem is very different from a job point of view.
Exactly.
Before we dive deeper into that part, tell me a little bit, when you graduated, you completed in 2015. Did you do a job here?
No, I didn't get one. That's why we started Student Circus. So, but I was applying for jobs and, getting through to them. But when it came to visas, they didn't want to sponsor. And I didn't have a post-study work visa, so I couldn't work. So I needed sponsorship to continue living in the UK, right? And that's when the frustration kind of built up of getting a job, but not getting a visa, so you can't work, etc. And Tripti was my friend, who's my co-founder, and she studied at CAS, which is now Bayes Business School. She was doing an internship with a highly funded startup in central London, and they wanted to keep her on, but she faced another problem. They didn't have the license to sponsor her and her visa was running out. So we were two peas in the pod. I wasn't getting a job because of a visa issue. She got an internship, but they couldn't convert it into a job because they didn't have the license and get the process. The time wasn't enough, the visa. So we both were, in one sense, frustrated with everything in life. When you worked hard, spent a lot of money, and done everything that you've been told to do, but yet you don't get it, that frustration builds up. And that's when the idea for Student Circus came up. It was literally started in our dorm room, where can you build something for international students that takes care of visa issues when it comes to jobs. And that's how Student Circus came up.
How did you find the name Student Circus?
It was a random thing. So we start so initially the work visa was called the Tier 2 work visa. So we bought this domain called tier2jobs.co.uk or something. And that would just limit us too much because we would only be a job search platform. So we said, let's be a little bit different. And I was on a bus in London and something came up and, some word which led to some letter, which led to something. And I said, circus.
Yeah.
Why? Because life is a circus for an international student, right? You're juggling so many different things at one time. So, and job search is one of the most important of them. So can we say Student Circus? That being said, the way it works is we just don't want to do job search. We're doing it right now in employability, but we want to do much more, right? We started off with the job platforms.
More aspects of the life that you need to juggle.
Exactly. So, going forward, we might be like Admit Card, helping students studying abroad. Going forward, we might have a, finance angle to it. Going forward, we might be into accommodations. We don't know.
Right.
But if you would limit ourselves with the name, we didn't want to do that. We said, let's have something. And we wanted to have student because it's Student Circus.
Yes.
So that's how Student Circus as a name.
That's fantastic. And you ended up starting Student Circus so that you could, have a venture, solve this problem that you were facing yourself.
Yeah.
And also this gives you an opportunity to stay in the UK.
So that's the funny part. So as a student, I think even currently, even that time for sure, but even right now, but I'm not a legal expert, so I'm just telling you what I think. I might be wrong. You're not allowed to start a business on a student visa. You're not allowed to do it.
Right.
Now, I think students have the post-study work visa options where they can be self-employed. But earlier, we didn't have the post-study work visa, so you couldn't start a business. So the government had a visa route called the entrepreneur visa.
Right.
The entrepreneur visa there were two levels: £50,000 investment and £200,000 investment. Being a student, 50,000 and 200,000, 50 lakhs and 2 crores is a lot of money. You don't have that kind of cash. But the government included a route called the graduate entrepreneur visa, where every university that was, a certain level or signed up to the government had the option of sponsoring, 10 to 20 international students with a viable, credible business idea that could make an impact in the real world. They could give sponsorship to them on the graduate entrepreneur visa.
Right.
So that's how Tripti and I got the graduate entrepreneur visa from the University of Bristol to start Student Circus.
Right.
So it was a process. If you have 2 minutes, I'll tell you this. So when the idea for Student Circus came up, at the University of Bristol, something very nice was that they had this kind of a grouping of certain academics who were a part of this support group for international students, because as an international student, you can get lonely, you can have mental health issues, you cannot adjust. So there's so many things that bother you, right? So Bristol University is where I studied, and I really love them. So if they're watching, remember to renew my contract. So they're really good because they had this kind of grouping where academics can support and just talk to you and listen to you, right? So one of the academic who was on the group was my accounts professor, Claire. She knew me, and I just rocked up to her office one day and I said, I have an idea. I didn't know who to share it with, but I wanted to share it with someone who can be a bouncing board. What do you think about it? And it was literally like small desk. She was sitting behind the desk and I was just standing. I didn't even sit, and I just went up. It was in the School of Economics, Finance and Management, EFM, which is now called the Business School at Bristol. And I just spoke to her. It was at Priory Road, I remember. And I said, this is the idea of Student Circus and giving international student jobs. And she's like, don't sit, keep standing. And I said, why? Let me call Stuart Johnson, who's the director of careers, because this is a problem I face every day. International students are coming to me and struggling when it comes to jobs, and it's affecting their mental health, etc. So I said, fine. And she called him. He was out of office. She emailed him. She actually helped me set up a meeting with Stuart Johnson, who's currently still the director of careers at Bristol. I got a meeting with Stuart, and Stuart was like, amazing, great idea, great concept, but you're going to require an entrepreneur visa for this. Now, I didn't know there's something called the graduate entrepreneur at that time. Did a Google search and saw that there's the entrepreneur visa, pay £200,000 and get it. Right. So I actually went back to Stuart and said, look, if I had 200,000, I wouldn't have this problem. Whatever money I had or I could take from my parents, it's been invested in my education, which is a large sum. I just don't want to kind of take a punt on £200,000, not that I have any. So he's like, no, we have something called the graduate entrepreneur visa, which if we think it's a credible business idea, we can sponsor you. And that's the whole process started. And we got sponsored by the university to start Student Circus.
Wow. That's, I think, a fantastic story as well, kind of a way to show that how, international students are persevering, figuring out different ways and opportunities to make it work out for themselves. Absolutely. And I think it was a great way for, Student Circus itself to be born. Absolutely. Out of the real pain of you and Tripti.
Absolutely.
And figuring your way out. Absolutely. Into, helping many more students. So thanks for sharing your story, Dhruv. Pleasure. Now, I'm going to be kind of bombarding you with certain really tough questions, which may not have a happy answer.
Not here to make people happy, just
yes.
FYI.
Yes.
We're here to say the truth because no one says the truth.
The blatant, as raw as can be.
Because that's what will help the student at the end of the day.
And I think
if you're not honest, it's doing you a disservice.
Opportunity is today to understand from somebody who's been working with thousands of students, who's been getting feedback from 100-odd universities, what their students are struggling with and how to solve it. What are the challenges and how are those challenges solvable?
If you realize, oh, this is a student only with a degree, but they've not taken any skill set, will you give them a job? Education is not an investment which will give you instant returns. It is something that will give you returns over your lifetime.
We want to focus right now on the Indian students, even if they have to go back to India.
Not happening. In 3 years, if you think you're going to recover all that cost, if that's the mindset, don't come.
What do you feel are like the top reasons why Indian students are struggling?
Mindset, expectations.